folks that are directing our different operations around the world are seeing in the places they're spending all of their time. Let's start over in China. I get kind of tired of doing this when it comes to the COVID updates, but for a while I'll keep giving them when they're kind of relative. In some ways they may be relative, maybe they're not. But let's talk China first. So talking to the guys over there, I mean, they're mentioning over in the western part of China, there's 106 cases that popped up, mostly from apparently visitors. So take that for what you will. But seems to be they have it under pretty good control, and it's definitely helping their economy along. When we take a look at October manufacturing PMI numbers, they're at 51.4, and they've had several months in a row, quite a few months, frankly, over 50. So they're doing pretty well from that standpoint. One thing that was interesting that came up in the discussions, we talked a lot about EV, electronic vehicles, and they've had a pretty strong national policy relative to that, and they've recently actually just changed it. So they had a program that we're planning by 2025 to have 25% of all vehicles sold be EVs. And they've actually pulled that back down a little bit. They're planning on 20% instead of 25% by 2025. And largely due to COVID and kind of the impact that's having, kind of getting some of those operations changed over. But it's still, it's a pretty good sized number. Still, you're still talking about, 5 million vehicles. It's a lot of vehicles at the end of the day. So it's something to, pay attention to either way. Also talking industrial robotics, and they've had some really unbelievable numbers. So up 51.4% year over year, robotic sales, 23,100 units. So that's a lot. The first 9 months, so that was just in the previous month. The actual first 9 months of the year, 67,000 robots purchased installed in China. So that's up 18% from 2019. Those are really big numbers when it comes to what's happening in robotics in the area. So when you look at the manufacturing GDP, they're running around about 4 trillion. So it's a huge market opportunity. More 2 billion something for 2 trillion, number for the U.S., 4 trillion China. So they've got the market to go put this into. And right now, I think it was last year they consumed about 1/3 of all the robots manufactured in the world. So it's something to pay attention to. And right now, they're only producing about 10% of the high-end technical robots. So huge market opportunity. That's where those numbers make some sense to keep track of. Let's jump around a little bit more. India, October PMI numbers for India, really good as well, 58.9. That's up from 56.9 in September. So they got a couple months running in a row here. That number for October is the highest that they've had in 12 years. So things looking better there. Automotive sales up quite a bit, 26% year over year. Hero had a really big, the guys that are making a lot of the motorcycles, huge motorcycle manufacturer, 800,000 units sold in just 1 month. That's a big deal. It's a lot going on, and the government's looking at another round of incentives. So hopefully that's going to keep pushing those guys along. Let's switch over to Brazil. COVID's getting a little bit better. Brazil, of course, has got opposite of us. They're kind of moving in towards summer and hoping that that's going to help squash things down a little bit further. So that's good news. They are getting more business investment. Scania is putting a bigger investment into the marketplace. Their CEO is looking forward to a 3% increase in the overall market in 2021. A lot going on in trucks and also looking at EV. Things that are also largely agriculture, a lot of agricultural growth. So they're seeing opportunities there. Brazil's having issues with supply chain. So really difficult time getting in raw materials, key components that they need. And that's really stalling the progress that they've actually been making in the marketplace. And so, some manufacturers are trying to move in because they're seeing an opportunity there, some aluminum manufacturers. And so that might start to help things out. But it's one of the things that's kind of keeping them slightly at bay. Mexico, COVID, they've got some small bounce up, just like here in the U.S. Some areas have gone to yellow on their scale, yellow, green, red being bad. Speaking of that, that's where Chihuahua actually went to in the red zone, a lot of manufacturing there. So that'll slow things up a little bit. But they're doing what we're doing. They're testing a lot more. and so they're getting more cases, but their morbidity rate is down. So that's good from that standpoint. USMCA, today is the 100-day anniversary, and it seems to be going pretty well. Numbers look like about $6 billion in investment from July through September. That's foreign direct investment going into Mexico for, doing the stuff we do in the manufacturing space, building out what's going on overall. So that's really good. Aerospace is up. Foreign direct investment grew over, it's higher now than it was in 2019. And so, maybe it's USMCA, maybe not, but it's definitely going up. Global Economic Indicator, which is a modeler, their 3-month growth rate. This is our 3rd month, in a row of growing on that global economic indicator, which is a metric that's used down there for taking a look at what's happening. Europe, just quick jump into Europe while we're there. They're actually seemingly doing a little bit better. They've had a pretty good 3rd quarter, actually a really good 3rd quarter for Italy, Spain, Germany doing well. So, some pretty good percentages. Germany's GDP, plus 8.2%. So looking pretty good overall. Europe GDP numbers were good. Their PMI 54.8 for the Eurozone. And those are pretty good numbers happening in Europe. Robotics are starting to increase, but they're increasing kind of slow. When you look at where the robots are going in the world, China number 1, Japan number 2, US 3, Korea number 4, Europe a distant 5th in that overall process. And to kind of give you a perspective, UK is 1/10 the size of what's actually going on in the German market for robotics. And so they know there's a lot of catch up there. But again, as we talked about in China, if you're in the automation robotics field, a lot of opportunities there, because that's the sector everyone's focusing on. As labor costs go up, and you're trying to figure out how you can scale, how you deal with things that you're having now with these supply chain issues. You need to make things in the locations where your actual customers are. There is a big move happening with robotics, and we can see those opportunities in several different markets around the world. So that's a quick trip around the world. Hope you find that useful. That's it for today. We'll be back at you on Thursday. Have a good one.